Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, your home for the NFL here on YouTube. My name is Mike. I'm continuing my 2014 NFL Draft prospect rankings, position by position here, guys. This video is for the wide receivers in the 2014 class. The deepest position, man for man, in this draft, okay, is the wide receiver position, in my opinion. In this top 10 list in particular, you have a lot of guys, okay, who are younger, a lot of guys who have not exhausted their full eligibility in college, but nonetheless are supremely talented. So we start at number 10 with Abbrederis from Wisconsin. Abbrederis is a 4.40 player who runs exceptional routes. He was hurt in my mind the last 2 years by the deterioration at the quarterback position at Wisconsin after, of course, Russell Wilson moved on to the professional level. But he's a guy I think you're going to be able to get at a steal, because I think if he had a quality quarterback that was able to hit him every time he was open, or even part of the time. He was missed a lot when he was wide open this year at Wisconsin. If you watch the tape, again, disciplined route runner, breakaway speed type of guy that I think you could get in the second, third round, and he can really be an asset from day one. Abbrederis from Wisconsin. At number 9, I have Kelvin Benjamin from Florida State. If you look at the prototypical stud receiver now in the NFL, Brandin Marshall, Calvin Johnson, Alshon Jeffrey. This guy is built, Kelvin Benjamin is, like those guys. What he does lack, though, from playing at Florida State was running a variety of routes. This is a guy they basically just threw the ball up to or sent him long and threw the ball up to him. If he shows the ability to run different routes, to run them precisely, that's what will separate him from being just a guy who's maybe a red zone threat to a guy who can be a Pro Bowl type player in my mind. Remains to be seen. I'm interested to see the fit he gets on draft day, and if they're able to coach him up and make him into the stud that a lot of people, including myself, think he can become. At number 8, I have Jarvis Landry from LSU, one of the 2 LSU receivers on this list, along with Odell Beckham Jr. Jarvis Landry, the smaller of the 2, but a guy that was in a pro-style offense this past year with Cam Cameron at LSU. A guy's not afraid to go over the middle. A guy that's not afraid to run short to intermediate routes and do so very well, and also with the burst and the speed to play both in the slot and outside. And a guy I think can contribute from day one at the NFL level, Jarvis Landry. At number 7, I have Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews from Vanderbilt. He's one of the only seniors on this list here, and because of that, in my eyes, when you look at the fact that he got a lot of playing time at Vanderbilt, he was far and away their best receiver. He's the most polished guy to me overall when you take a look at the total package of all the receivers on this list. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most explosive guy. He's not the most athletic guy. But a quintessential pro receiver that if he can continue to get that separation at the pro level from his defenders, that's the only question mark, he can be a productive guy right from day one for you. Jordan Matthews at number 7. At number 6, I have Brandin Cooks, and I have Brandin Cooks a little higher than a lot of people do, but look, I can't ignore his production. All right, he won the Biletnikoff Award last year as the best receiver in the country. Prolific, only 5'10". Right off the bat, people are gonna, sort of look at him differently because he's 5'10". Not in my eyes, because there's spots for those guys in the NFL. I think he could play both the slot and outside. If you look at a guy like T.Y. Hilton, how the Colts use him, I think a guy like Brandin Cooks, who may not be as fast as T.Y. Hilton, can be used in that sort of mold. And again, you're going to get a tremendously productive player that I think another guy who can step in from day one and play. At number 6, Brandin Cooks. At number 5, I have Odell Beckham Jr. Now, when you start getting into these top 5, you're talking about guys that have the potential to be frontline receivers, and Odell Beckham, to me, is that guy. Beckham has the ability. What stuck out to me with him at LSU is not afraid to go over the middle, can take the top off of defense, but at the same time can run that 10-yard in and catch that important third down catch that gets you the first down. Always making plays down the field in chunks. Not a guy that racks up yards by catching screens and bubble screens and things of that nature. A guy that's going to put pressure on the defense down the field, runs good routes, and not afraid to take a hit and go over the middle. Odell Beckham Jr. from LSU. At number 4, I have Marqise Lee. And Marqise Lee, probably one of the more well-known college players here this past season. He had a big problem with drops the last 2 years. I would point to the fact that the USC quarterback position really has fallen off a cliff in recent years, and I think that part of the drops have to do with that, and part of it has to do with Marqise Lee's overall concentration level. But you can't deny his speed, his athleticism, his ability to finally run routes when needed, and really just an explosive playmaker that he was at USC. It's easy to focus on the detriments that guy has, but I think the positives far outweigh that for Marqise Lee, a guy that's slipping down a lot of people's boards, but that I still firmly have at number 4. And number 3, I have Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is a guy that is a dual threat guy in the fact that he can catch that short yardage pass and fight for a first down, but he can also take the top off a defense. Can run every route that you need him to run. Has the potential to be a frontline #1 receiver in the NFL because he can be a mismatch problem from the perspective of being physical with cornerbacks. Sort of takes the fight to cornerbacks rather than letting cornerbacks dictate to him, which is obviously very, very important in the NFL when you're talking about the physicality of some of the defensive backs on the line of scrimmage. Allen Robinson at number 3. At number 2, I have Mike Evans from Texas A&M. Mike Evans, to me, is in the mold of an Alshon Jeffrey, Brandin Marshall, and of course, Calvin Johnson, in that he's truly a guy, throw it up and let him do his thing. And he's going to be able to he puts his body in good position. He's a box out kind of receiver, one that has really taken over the NFL and has really helped some average to good quarterbacks look above average and great. And I think he's a guy that can do that. He's not going to wow you with his speed. So at the combine, he's not going to be a guy that runs a 4.4. He may run a 4.6. But that size and physicality and the ability to go up and get the football and never really be outdone for the football, from what I saw at Texas A&M, is something that's a premium in the NFL today. He runs good enough routes, so a better route runner than a guy like a Kelvin Benjamin. That's what separates him from me from a guy like that. Mike Evans, I'd be surprised if he's there past pick 15. Number 1, I have Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins has been a playmaker at Clemson from day one. From the first time you saw this guy as a freshman, you knew he was going to be a special player. To me, he's the 3rd best player overall in this draft on my big board. He's just a playmaker extraordinaire. Only 6'1", 200 pounds. So you may look at it and say, well, the size is maybe not ideal. But when you have a guy, you can line up anywhere on the field, runs good routes, not afraid to go over the middle and catch a football, but also can take the top off the defense as well. Adept at running slants, catching screens, really well-rounded in all the routes he runs. The explosive playmaker that every team is dying to have is Sammy Watkins. He's the guy in this draft that I think you could see a team trade up for that's in desperate need for a receiver. Guys, those are my receivers from 10 to 1. Let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter as well. I already have the running back and quarterback rankings up, so be sure to check that out. Check out my mock draft and all my other draft-related and NFL offseason related videos here on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and have a great night.